The hadith was written a few hundred years after the death of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whereas the gospel was written by the peers or disciples of Jesus. Alright, so what's the point here? Normally for Christian, they always highlight the time gap, for example, right? Although this statement here, I think I've seen many videos, many discussion, many debate about, you know, whether it is, meaning whether the gospel is actually written by the disciple or someone after, etc. There's a lot of discussion there. I'm not going there. I'm just saying, even if this is true, I'm taking the assumption or hypothetically that, all right, let's consider this as true, meaning that the gospel is actually written by the peer of Jesus. So what? So what? Because the comparison that you are making is the time from when it happened and when it is being written down on pen on paper, right? Number one, the hadith was collected and was written down with its chain of narration, right? It's the chain of narration. That's number one. For every, it's not just the author or the collector of hadith, because the hadith is a collection of individual sayings, individual events, individual records, etc., right? And for each individual event, sayings of prophet, etc., you have the chain of narration until Rasulullah SAW, until the prophet. The gospel is not like that, right? The gospel is not like that. So even if it is written by the peer of Jesus, not every story is when the peer, because the author, meaning the author, because there's only 4 author, right, of the gospel, right? So because the gospel is not just one paragraph, right? There's a lot of things being said. Individually, you can claim 1 or 2 or 3. The author himself, if indeed this is true, actually was there as the primary source of what happened. So he just write down the thing that he himself witnessed. But for most of the other things, even though he is part of, you know, those who know Jesus personally, the event may happen without him being there. So when the story come to them, the verification should be there, right? Meaning that for us to trust, okay, so he heard from this guy is trustworthy and he directly witnessed. If we know that, then okay, that's equivalent to the hadith then, at least. Even though if you want to say that because of the time, the chain of narration is longer, but still we have the chain. If you do not have the chain, meaning the author say, so if I want to ask, okay, so this story, he's obviously not there, because in the video where this comment, when the woman go into the empty tomb, so there's only woman there. So the one that authored the story should have gotten it from someone. Who is that someone? Is it directly the woman? Is it the someone, a man that heard from the woman? Who? Right? So that is missing, right? So regardless of the length of the chain of narration, but it's not about the length now. One is totally missing. We do not know. We just have to trust the author have checked the narration, etc. And I don't know. So that's the question there. Alright. Number 2, from the author to us, right? Because we have 2 things now. One is, how do we know how the methodology used by each author to tell whatever story that he tell in his writing, right? In the hadith, it's quite clear. If you see Bukhari, Muslim, etc., so we know the criteria that they use to evaluate the story that they take into consideration or take into account, right? So okay, the story, the chain of narration is one thing. So if one have that criteria and one do not, so that also already give the, you know, in terms of methodology of how the author writes, right? So we do not know did he check each story or no? If he checked, where did he see that? Is it in the early part of the gospel? All of the story, even if I do not know, I do not indicate explicitly each of the story I heard from who, but indeed, no, for sure, I have checked every story, blah blah blah. Did he or did each of the author at least make that statement that you actually put the trust? Yes, the author have checked using this criteria, even though the narration is not being told, but we know for sure. Meaning, is there that indication, such indication that you put the trust to the author? Right, so that's one question. The second question is from the author to us. In terms of the hadith, of course, we have the benefit that it's closer to us, right? So we know when the each of the collection of hadith is being published until now. We have the tracking, right? Meaning that there's not possible for someone else pretend to be Imam al-Bukhari and produce something and say this is, you know, the book of al-Bukhari, because no, what are you talking about, right? From the time of al-Bukhari until now, that kind of thing cannot comes in. Is that also true with the gospel? Meaning that when all the manuscript that is being okay, first, is it similar to the hadith where from the time that it's being written until now, you know, no possibility of, right? Meaning that the author, and from the time it is published, there's no missing link. There's no, for example, we found a manuscript and then it states that this is the author, and we just have to trust it must be this author. It wouldn't be someone else write in his name or something, right? So is that the case? Because from the hadith point of view, we know when al-Bukhari written it, and from the time it is written until now, no one can come in and do something about it, right? Is that also true with the gospel? Meaning that from the time that each of the four authors written until now, there's no missing link? Or is it the case that no, it's different, the manuscript is found and we say, oh, it's being written by someone and he said he used this methodology, and we trust because it's impossible for someone else to just make a claim? And I said, I don't know, no, this is an honest question. Yeah, because given my question, if okay, because going back to the time frame, right? Time frame from the what happened and when it is being written, regardless of the length of the time, but if we can check and this is authentic and can be checked every single step of the way until the event itself, it's authentic, then I can trust, compared to even though it just happened yesterday, right? Someone told me yesterday I saw this, but this guy, is it true what he said? I do not know him. His credibility is questionable, for example, right? So even though it just happened yesterday, from when I'm writing, right? Just like today's news, right? It happened earlier today. You already have the article written, but the article written on the same day can be rubbish because it's not authenticated. The source is not authenticated. That's whatever, right? So that's the thing, right? Meaning that something is written just after the fact does not necessarily mean it is the truth. It's reflecting the truth, right? You have to check. The one that writing this article, who did he observe the event himself, or he got from someone? If he gets from someone, who his source, can we trust the source, right? So that's how I go about it. I'm not sure about you, but that's how I see it, and hence the time frame is not a factor. The factor is, can I see and check the authenticity of the story, right? So from that, where my trust to the hadith is, and my trust to the gospel is like that, right? Because this, you know, it's if you know the science of hadith, right? It's like hadith da'if jiddan or hadith mawdu' or what, right? It's that level. It's not hadith sahih or whatever, the hadith hasan, etc., right? It's not even that. So that's how I see it. What about you? Feel free to comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time.